Ever feel like your brain is a web browser with way too many tabs open? Yeah, you are not alone. And spoiler alert, it's not really your fault. Today, we're going to dive into the hidden science behind why we all struggle to focus, and more importantly, how we can start to take back control of our own attention. You know the feeling. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you started the day with a great plan, but now you're just lost in a sea of social media, and that big project is just sitting there staring at you. This isn't a failure of character, I promise. It's actually a feature of how our brains are designed. Let's dig into why. Okay, first things first, we need to completely reframe how we think about attention. It's not some test of your moral fiber or pure willpower. It's a fundamental cognitive process. The best way to think of it is like a bouncer at the club of your mind. It's the gatekeeper that decides what information even gets in the door to be learned or remembered. You know, scientists have this fantastic metaphor for it. Your attention is like a single spotlight in a massive pitch-black theater. Your brain is getting bombarded with information all the time, sights, sounds, feelings, but only the stuff that gets illuminated by that one little spotlight actually gets processed. And here's the kicker. If an idea, a piece of information, or a skill you're trying to learn never gets caught in that spotlight, then for your brain, it's as if it never even happened. No attention, no learning. It is really that simple. But here's the thing, attention isn't just one thing. We are constantly juggling these different types. You've got selective attention, like when you're trying to hear one person in a noisy room. You need sustained attention to read a book for more than 5 minutes. We try to use divided attention when we multitask, which, let's be honest, rarely works well. And then there's executive attention. That's the boss in your brain that's supposed to help you ignore your phone. Modern life is basically a full-on assault on all 4 of these all day long. All right, so attention has a partner in crime, willpower. And just like with attention, we've kind of been thinking about it all wrong. It's not some bottomless well of self-control that we can just draw from. No, it's much more like a battery that can and absolutely does run out of juice. Now, the scientific term for this is ego depletion. It sounds a little fancy, but all it really means is that your brain gets tired. After a long day of making decisions, resisting temptations, and just managing your own emotions, your capacity for self-control is literally drained. It's just mental fatigue. Roy Baumeister, who's a huge name in this field, he nailed it. He said willpower is a limited resource. Seriously, think of it like a muscle. You can't just do bicep curls for 8 hours straight, right? Eventually, your arm gets tired and just fails. Well, your brain's self-control muscle works the exact same way. So, what's draining this mental battery every single day? Oh, the list is going to sound pretty familiar. It's the constant buzz of our digital lives, the fatigue from making even tiny decisions like what to eat for lunch, the emotional work of just being a person, and of course, all the pressure from work, school, and our relationships. All of it drains that precious resource. Okay, so our attention is a spotlight, and our willpower is a muscle that gets tired. Now, this might sound like a bunch of bad news, but it's actually liberating. I'm serious. Because if we understand the system, we can start to design for it. We can become the architects of our own focus. So how do we do that? Well, here's your evidence-based toolkit. You've got to stop relying on raw willpower alone. It's about making it easier to do the right thing. Turn off those notifications. Break down that huge project into smaller, manageable chunks. Hook your own brain with an interesting question to get started. And create routines so you're not constantly making decisions. Controlling our environment is a huge first step, a real game changer. But what about the distractions that come from inside our own heads? You know, the worries, the random thoughts, the anxieties. We can't just put our own mind on airplane mode, or can we? And that right there is the million-dollar question. For years, the wisdom was that trying to suppress a thought just makes it stronger. It's that classic don't think of a pink elephant problem, and suddenly all you can see are pink elephants. But what if there's another way to handle it? So on the right here, you have our usual approach, distraction. A bad thought pops up and we immediately try to think of something else. But look at the left. There's something totally different, direct suppression. This isn't about replacing the thought, it's about actively blocking it, almost like creating a mental blank space. And get this, it's a skill you can actually train. Listen to how researcher Zulkayda Mahmoud explains it. It's about learning to focus your attention intensely on the task of not thinking. It is a very deliberate, active mental move.
And yeah, it's tough at first, but with practice, it can become an incredibly powerful tool for quieting all that internal noise.
And here is the most shocking part. In studies, this kind of training was actually found to significantly improve mental health, especially for people dealing with symptoms of PTSD and anxiety. They found that their intrusive memories became less vivid, and the positive effects were still there months later. So we can architect our environment, and we can train our minds. But what's the ultimate payoff here? Well, it goes way, way beyond just being more productive. The real benefits are profound. See, by training our attention, whether it's through something like mindfulness or this direct suppression technique, we're fundamentally rewiring our brains. We become less reactive to stress, less hijacked by our emotions. But the benefits don't even stop there. They get physical. In fact, recent studies have linked this kind of mental training to a key biomarker of how fast your body is literally aging at the cellular level. This is the mind-body connection in real time, folks. This simple practice of focusing your attention inward has been shown to actually lengthen telomeres. Those are the little protective caps on the ends of our chromosomes. Now, shorter telomeres are linked to aging and disease. This research suggests that training your mind could literally be keeping you biologically younger. Wow. So let's be super clear about this. Learning to manage your focus isn't just a productivity hack. It's not about getting more stuff done. It is a foundational skill for a healthier, less stressful, and more resilient life, both mentally and physically. Which leads us to one final thought. In a world that is literally engineered to distract us and to drain our willpower, is the ability to control your own attention the ultimate modern superpower? I'll let you think about that one. Thanks for tuning in.